In this video, I'm going to talk you through how to make a unit circle from scratch with all of the special triangle angles proportioned correctly using geometric construction tools with a compass and straight edge. This is not required for most Algebra 2 classes, including mine, but if you want to know how to get these in the right spot rather than kind of freestyling it and doing your best, this is how you could use geometric constructions, which we learned in geometry, to do it. So I start by constructing a horizontal line. This is going to be my x-axis. I'm just using a ruler to do that. And I'm just going to define my x-axis as wherever that ended up. For the purpose of this class, most of you will now just go ahead and eyeball your very best perpendicular line to this. I know because I've met many geometry students, and that's also what they do whenever they think I'm not looking. However, I am going to show you how to do it properly. So let's start by defining where the origin is. And now if I would like to make a line that is perpendicular to this, that means that I need to center it at the origin, have some little reference marks here. So first I am making reference marks here and here that I'm not going to use again for anything after I'm done making my bisector, but I'm going to do that. Those are both the same distance from the center. Open this a little wider and then swing from these two marks that are the same distance from the center, my little centering marks here and here, and probably just to keep myself honest, I should also do that down here. Technically I don't need to because I could go through that point, but I am more likely to get this in the right spot if I have a little more to line it up with. And so now that I have my marks that are directly up and down from that vertically, and I kind of confirm that by doing it the way that students will do it whenever they don't think I'm looking and just looking at the ruler, which is, fine for this class because we're not doing geometric constructions in Algebra 2 or pre-calculus when we're building a unit circle. So now I have perpendicular lines. This is my x-axis. This is my y-axis, and I won't use these marks again. I would have done these really lightly in pencil, except I wanted you to be able to see them on the camera. So I'm going to zoom this out a little bit, because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my unit circle. And what makes it a unit circle is that it has a radius of 1 unit. I want this to be pretty big because all the stuff I'm going to be doing from here is going to be in relation to my unit circle. So this is a very zoomed in graph. That's why I'm doing it on white paper rather than on grid paper, because my grid would be with 1 unit all the way out here. This is 1. So that means this point is going to be 1 over and 0 up. So it's at 1, 0, 0 over and 1 up is 0, 1. If I go back 1 unit and don't go up or down any, that would be -1, 0. And down here would, of course, be 0, -1. So this is on a coordinate plane. This is my 0, 0, my origin. I'm not going to write that there just because the middle is going to get very crowded. Now we need to get our 45-degree triangles and our 30, 60, 90 triangles in here. And I'm going to use some more compass tricks to get them in the right spot. So if this is 1, if I put this sharp end of the compass here instead and I swing this up here, this will create a circle with the same radius is this one. So where it intersects this circle, since they both have the same radius, this point and this point are going to be the same distance from each other. And that means that if I drew a triangle here, here, and here, it would be an equilateral triangle with all 60-degree angles. And I'm going to extend this because I'm also going to make an angle bisector of this angle, this 90-degree angle, to get my 45s from those same points, using this as my other point of reference for that, because this will create that same equilateral triangle here for my 30, 60, 90 reference points, and the reference point I'll need to make my 45-degree triangle here. And then I proceed around doing those from each of my 4 points on the coordinate plane. And so now I have all of the reference marks I'll need to create each of the 3 sets of lines that I'll use for my special triangles. If I connect this one to the center, it'll be 30 degrees. I'm actually going to connect it all the way through to this other one over here that is the mirror image of that over in this quadrant, just so that I can do this fewer times. I'm going to do the same thing for the equivalent one on the next quadrant. And that gives me all of my 30-degree from a part of the axes things. And I'm going to use a very similar color for my other ones, my ones that are 60. Because those are really the same thing but mirrored. So those are my 30, 60, 90 triangles all the way around. These are equally spaced. The more careful I was drawing this, the more they're truly equally spaced, but they're at least equally spaced in spirit. And now let's put in our 45s. Those are going to be at a somewhat different location. They're going to be where these intersect each other. So here and here, which goes through the center, because that constructed an angle bisector, gives me my 45. And I really only needed it to go here. I just drew that out further so that you could see where I was getting my reference point. But I don't need to do that. I won't when I do this one, which is my other 45-degree angles. I'll just start at one point on the circle and end at the other point on the circle, because this was just to show you how I constructed it. So now I have all of my lines in the right place to start talking about my 45-degree triangles and my 30, 60, 90 triangles, which I will do in a different video because I want to separate out this construction process, which is optional. You could just freestyle it, from the more focused work of actually building this unit circle.